Okay, welcome everyone. I'm Audrey Lane. I'm one of the co-directors of the PopCon International Film Fest.
And I'm George Lane. I'm the other director of the PopCon International Film Fest. And we are here with the star and the director or producer, for Deadly Promises here. So Tom and Julian, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
Happy to be here.
Yay! It's the inaugural kickoff of the PopCon Film Fest.
So excited.
So excited.
Yeah, sorry we couldn't meet live this year, but hopefully we'll see you next year. And for now, what a great event that you guys have put on. You know, shifting to making this an online virtual event, you guys have really pulled off quite a magnificent feat. So thanks for having us.
Well, thank you.
We're going to have to give a lot of credit to Chris and Carl. They're phenomenal.
They are really amazing.
They are really amazing. Not just the Film Fest, but all the other things that are available. The panels, the Q&As, the workshops. There's just so much stuff. The podcast marathon.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
So one of the questions that I'm curious about, all right, so this film reminded me a lot of The Man in the Iron Mask. Was that an inspiration, or is it just something that I'm picking up from your film?
Well, you're talking about the mask that we chose to use.
Well, not the mask, but it was the twin, and then one's good, one's bad. But it almost seemed like it really flipped it, because in The Man in the Iron Mask, the story is the bad guy was out and the good guy was locked up. But this one kind of flipped it, and that's what I took from it. I'm thinking that this was unintentional, but that was exactly what I took from it. So.
Wow, George, I tell you what, I had never even thought about that, but that's actually that's brilliant. Yeah, it is kind of a flip. We're gonna have to go watch that movie again. Yeah. Wow, that's great. Yeah, it was a little bit of a play on that. And it started off with a short film that was produced that Julian starred in. It was his first like scary type genre that he had done. And that was just less than 2 years ago. And he did so well that we purchased the rights to this short film and just expanded the story. We thought about, well, how does Dylan like get the way that he is, which obviously in the film you saw is because it's not Dylan, but how does he get this way? What happens when he takes the girlfriend to the party? You know, there was a lot of that going on. So we conceptualized it, and it kind of started as a really small father-son project that turned into a full-blown first-class indie feature. And we had such a great team, and just amazing. Mm-hmm.
And
did you film and do everything in Colorado?
Absolutely, yes. Colorado based, just like the two short films before Deadly Promises, they were all there in Indiana. Mm-hmm. And you know, we're not in the LA market, we're not in the New York market or the Atlanta market. All of us out here that are everywhere else, it's you know, there's a lot of brilliance that can be done from more rural areas, and it was very enjoyable as well to see the other two short films.
Cool.
Yeah, it's nice because since they were based in Indiana, we knew some of those landmarks. But when you're looking at the area, you see a lot of resources that you have at your disposal. And I think that's a definite plus when you're doing things that are local.
Yeah. It's always nice to be able to take something from a local level and make it really, really big, you know.
So you said that
it started as a short film. Is that available for people to see?
So that is called Better Late Than Dead, and I don't believe we have it available right now, but it's going to potentially release September 25th when we release this film. It's going to be a short film that's available along with it.
That'll be perfect. That would be great.
Yeah, and there's a lot of fun there because you'll see from the short film, you may remember when when he's in the costume shop, there's a mask that he picks up and puts on. That's from the original Better Late Than Dead. So we integrated some things like that along the way.
Little Easter eggs.
Yes, exactly. Halloween eggs.
Nice. That's good to know. Nice. So just so I can make sure, are you two father and son?
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I wasn't sure
I'm
because
surprised you didn't say brother, but yes, we're father son. Yes.
Well,
I just wanted to make sure before I led into the next question. So this is one for you, Dylan.
How do you separate dad from
producer?
And when you're working it's on screen versus how it carries the whole life.
Well, separating dad from producer, I'd say, I mean, yeah, he's a great dad, but when he's on set, he is working hard. He is getting everything done. He's making sure directors where he is, the stars are all taken care of, and they know their lines. They know they've prepared, and he's checking cameras. He's checking audio.
Oh my gosh, wardrobe, you name it, man. We're all over it.
He is zooming around that set, trying to figure out everything before we shoot. Even hours before crew even arrives, he's setting things up. He's making schedules for the next month of shooting, and he's preparing really well.
Wow, so he's
giving a very good foundation of what to do on set.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think producer would be a better term, would be the catch-all, just basically
everything else that is not directed to something else. It's like they do everything else.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, we had a great director, we had a great crew, great camera, directors of photography that were working the cameras, great angles, great talent. I mean, it all came together quite well. We had a total of 76 individual cast and crew members plus the one dog, and it was a lot of fun.
What was your shooting time frame? Like, was it 3 months, 6 months, a year? I know a lot of times with indie films, you really have to do a lot of planning. You have to plan around work, schedules, other people's things. So what was your time frame?
Yeah, exactly like that. It was a lot of, quite a few weekends. But 1 year ago, we had just finished the casting. So from casting till our first shoot date was the first weekend of August last year. By the end of October for Halloween last year, we had about 60 minutes of the feature film complete, and we kept going. So It was roughly every weekend for about 3 months. And then we had, I would say, probably 5 additional weekends of shooting from late November until February. So roughly 6 months total. But if that were on a normal Monday through Friday, let's say, schedule, which I don't think very many films are shot that way, but let's say it probably would be about a full month and a half of shooting, month to month and a half of shooting.
And I just want to say, I see we've got viewers on here. So if you guys want to jump in the chat, feel free to ask a question. I'm going to keep peeking over at the live stream just to make sure, because some people in the past, when we did this before, they were asking questions from the live feed. So we just want to make sure that everyone knows if you have a question to pop over here and you can ask it in the chat. Otherwise, George and I will keep on moving.
You guys make a great team, I must say. I mean, you guys, like everything I've seen leading up to this, it's like, I can't wait to just meet you guys, give you a hug when we're no more COVID. Looking forward to it. Somebody popped on and gave a thumbs up. Funny, a virtual hug.
Oh, awesome. It's funny because the reason I asked you that, Julian, about working with your dad, because it's hard sometimes when you are in a different type of relationship and you're in a work relationship. So we're married. So sometimes it's separating the marriage and then the work. And it's like, okay, I need to tell you all this stuff about work, but I really want to have dinner without talking about work. So it's, you have to balance. It's a balancing act. And you're in school. So I'm sure balancing school, balancing these weekends had to be a lot. I have to ask, how are those grades?
I mean, straight A's. So we were staying strong.
Oh, very, very nice.
Don't ask about my grades.
I love it.
But we'll talk about his grades. You know what I'm saying?
Very nice. Very nice. You can carry your dad with that. You can carry him with that. That's awesome. Good job. I mean, it's hard. So it's kind of cool that you're learning to balance what it takes to be successful in this crazy, world of entertainment. Some people get lost in that. So to know that you have this crazy schedule, you kept your grades up, you still maintained, it's kind of a sign of maturity that you were able to balance it. And hopefully, we have a lot of, oh my gosh, so this cycle, we have a lot of movies with, I'm going to say under 18, which is actually really amazing. I'll probably ask that question of everyone just because I think sometimes you're a parent first and you still want to nurture and care about everybody. So it's kind of like, yeah, how are those grades? It just popped up, to make sure that, hey, this is something that you can do, but it is a balancing act.
It really is. Yeah.
So one of the questions that I end up having is, was there anything that was in this film that you put in personally? Thank you for something that you put in personally that was an experience that you had yourselves, not just you, Tom, but even you, Dylan. Anything that you've had that was put into this that was just a little on the personal level, if you want to share that.
You want to start naming all the things that were like more personal that we incorporated?
Well, to begin, the exterior of the house where the party is, where I won't spoil anything, but people are kind of fleeing. That was our first house where I lived with my dad when I was born. Yeah. We lived there for 10 years before moving out to California. And then we eventually moved back after 4 years of living there. So we shot that at the very first house. Even for my dad and mom, we all lived in Colorado. So that's a little tidbit that's kind of personal.
There are quite a few of those in there along the way.
Mm-hmm.
We talk, when they're talking about Sheriff Adler has to report, I'm going to go to Greenbrier Lane or whatever. That's the street I grew up on. The place where Isabella's character Megan, where she was all dressed up, ready to go, and the parents didn't want her to go. That was the kitchen of a good friend of ours that lived right around the corner, right across the street where
nice.
We're growing up. That was the inside of the house of good friends that lived literally just across the street from us. A lot of the things that were created were very, very personal throughout the story. But more than anything, it really was a great experience to be able to work with Julian, following what he mentioned, living in California, but to be able to do something that was in the Colorado space really was special. It was a very special experience. And his older brother was in there. He was not only the tow truck driver that took the Trans Am away, but he was in the flashback scene with Sheriff Adler. He was the one sitting there eating the donut. His mom, my wife, and his younger daughter. He don't have a daughter yet. My younger daughter, his younger sister, she was in the background at the pizza place. Well, I hope you don't have a daughter yet. Anyway,
I hope I don't.
You're only 16. But anyway, so there were really a lot of, a lot of local family and personal connections throughout the entire show, the entire film. Yeah.
That's awesome. So what would you say the biggest takeaway from this experience is? Julian, you go first.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the biggest takeaway from this experience is probably that mine would be that Colorado has some massive talent, and the main central pieces for entertainment are mainly California, Atlanta, even New Mexico is starting to have some new studios pop up. Mm-hmm. But Colorado has so much talent. And looking at my fellow actors that I share the screen with, along with the crew, the DPs, the director, who this is his first feature film ever, there is so much talent here that I think I didn't think about before, and now I appreciate it so much, how even in Colorado, where it could be the farthest from so many central pieces or places of entertainment, there are still so many very talented people around me and that I can talk to and experience.
Which is the great thing about indie film, is you do find those gems and you do make those connections. And I think it's different when you're networking, not so much on a smaller sector, but maybe a more close-knit community or environment. I feel like when you get the big masses of LA and New York and Atlanta and Florida, not that you missed it. I just think that it's more close knit, and people in a smaller community or an area that's not bombarded with filmmaking, it just kind of gives you a chance to really network and work with people and put people to work. Because even if it's something that's not perfect for you or something perfect for you, Tom, to produce, you may know someone else that wants to produce it or that will have an interest in it. And I think those smaller networking circles is really what's going to drive filmmaking for this next, year, at least the next 5 years, just because everyone's kind of rebuilding from this crazy, last 8 months that we've all been in.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
It was,
And then how about
an unexpected curveball for the entire globe, I think, that came at us. But hopefully we're only a few months from getting back out of that and getting back to somewhat normal.
Like normalcy.
With precautions. And I think for me, probably the biggest thing that came out of this is, whether you are an actor in West Virginia or Indiana or Ohio, if you're a filmmaker, if you aspire to do big things, just go for it. And by the way, don't just go for it. My takeaway is that great things can happen from anywhere. If you've got the great talent, you've got great teamwork, like you said, Audrey, the connections, anything's possible. So don't hold back. Go for it, and don't settle for just status quo. Good enough isn't good enough. Push it. Make it the best it can be. And you can really create something special, even with limited resources.
Awesome. Now, is there anything particular, like a different genre that you would want to work in, or is horror something that you really, want to dabble in a bit? Is that something that you want to stick with?
Well, you can answer for you, and I'll answer for me.
All right.
Go ahead.
There you go.
Well,
yeah, you first, Julian.
Personally, I do like the idea of horror, not particularly horror, like demonic bad guy who does bad things and then good guys try to stop him, but more psychological horror. I think that's something I'd love to dip my toes in sometime or experiment with. But also comedy. I think I'd love to do a comedy with my dad because, he is a pretty funny guy. He's got some good dad jokes up his sleeve.
Hey, that's
Tie
right.
those into a movie, man, it'd be great. But I think comedy and horror are two interests of mine for the future. And
yeah, we were conscious about that, in the young adult category. As you guys saw, it wasn't quite all in horror, it wasn't super blood and guts. We tried to be somewhat conservative with that because it was more about us, going for the suspense thriller kind of a feel, and hopefully with the distribution and release, it'd be more around PG-13 than R. So for this particular project, that was it. But I have seen some just incredible horror movies. It would be fun to do something maybe a little darker. But at the same time, like Julian said, I think between comedy and something that's just more in between with the drama piece, I think that we could have a lot of fun for sure.
We've got a couple of questions for you.
Yeah.
So we've got Brad. He is asking, do you ever see yourself branching out and trying your hand on one of the coasts? I know you guys lived in California for a little bit, but are you now based back in Colorado?
Yeah, so we'll travel the world. During the short time, we were in the Bay Area for 4 years. And Julian, there's a little story behind that. When he was born, he had a script in his hand. He's always had this very creative thing about him. He would, at 4 years old, he would come down the stairs and he'd be dressed like a pirate. One time he was dressed with jams, and he had a cap, a swim cap on, and glasses, and he had a script. And he's like, yeah, I'm Surfer Dude, and I wrote a script here for my movie, and it's called Surfer Dude. So, like, he's always had that about him, and he really was interested in becoming a professional actor. And certainly, he did a lot of, local projects. When we moved to California, he just really stuck on the focus of, hey, I want to do professional work. So, of course, as any good parent would do, you make him crawl through the mud, and you make him do all those pro bono student films, and he did stage, and he did a lot of stuff. He had to. I really wanted to be sure he was serious about this, and in the last, literally within 24 months before we moved back to Colorado, he went from an amateur kid trying to just get experience to, well, everything from a print ad for HP to a commercial for Norton antivirus software, to voiceover work at Pixar, to being an extra in the feature film Beautiful Boy with Steve Carell and Timothée Chalamet. And then right literally as we moved back, they had that big release at the Toronto International Film Festival, and he got to walk the red carpet, and he did it like he had done it 100 times before. We got to hang out with all those crazy celebrities. And it is a different vibe a little bit when you're talking about the big time Hollywood feature films, or the the actual big union back projects, and the spectrum of small student film all the way up to everything gives you a lot of good perspective. So we're based here, and we love California, and we'd love to go to the coast. We'll drive to Albuquerque, but he's a pretty creative kid. He's very talented, and I think I'm going to do everything I can to help him succeed. That's my goal, at least for the couple of years I have him still here at home.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I have one more question that's going to close us out, and it's from Chris, and he wants to know, what is the next big project for both of you?
Well, I think they want a spoiler, don't they? We are so Julian and I co-wrote Deadly Promises along with a screenwriter, and we are currently wrapping up part 2, Deadlier Promises. What happens to that character that was in the back of the cop car? What just happened? What happens next? What happens in that relationship with Dylan and Megan? Like, there's more to come. And then after that, there could even be a Deadliest Promises. Awesome. Who knows? But we're going to do everything we can.
I love how you're just taking it there.
Do something special. I'm sorry, Audrey. Can you say that again?
I was like, I love how you're taking it. They're just giving it all to us. I love it. It.
We're going somewhere, so we'll see.
We're getting there.
Very good. Very good. Thank
you for taking the time. And we hope that you stay throughout the weekend. And, some of the other filmmakers, just take part, check out the panels, just everything that the virtual convention has to offer.
Absolutely. We are thrilled to be here. We thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you so much.
And we definitely are. You're going to see us on a whole bunch this weekend. So look forward to what else is still yet to come. Thank you guys both very, very much.
Thank you.
You are very welcome. Thank you both. George, take us out of here, because I think you know how to work the box better than I do. Nice.